I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it, discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it, uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know, there'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Senior Nation. I'm your host, Phyllis Aymen, and you are listening to the Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C. We are indeed a senior nation with 100 plus million adults over the age of 50. And we are here to bring you up-to-date information about successful aging, healthful longevity, and becoming what I call a well-ager. To dignity, respect, quality of life, and quality of care for our parents, our grandparents, and our loved ones. We at Senior Nation will be your trusted voice for informed choices, meaningful conversations, and a vibrant life at every age. Though the Source TV Radio Network is known for its dedication to bringing the highest level of jazz content to the viewing and listening audience, the owners of the network are also dedicated to bringing this important content to this fast-growing demographic. And I'm always so grateful to have the opportunity. So let's begin with today's show. My guest tonight is Jill Shephard, who is back by popular demand. I'm thrilled Jill was able to make the time to join me again. She recently founded Order by Design, a professional organizing business in her, what she calls her third act. She works with people through their process of organizing, downsizing, and letting go as they prepare to transition their homes and lives at different stages of life. Jill's a competitive single rower, has launched many businesses, has 4 young adult children, and is a stepmother to 2. She's worked as a rowing coach, personal trainer, cooking teacher, food photographer, and blogger. And I'm just so thrilled she could be here with me again tonight.
Hey, Phyllis.
Hey, Jill. Great to see you again.
We have to stop meeting like this.
Well, actually, since we live near each other, I mean, it would be nice if we could actually, I don't know, meet for whatever it is, one day, one night, one evening.
It would be so easy.
So easy. I mean, listen, we can meet where we first met. We can meet outside Whole Foods. I mean,
yeah, there we go. And find a coffee shop nearby.
Right. And we told that story the first time around when you were on the show, when I was walking out of Whole Foods and saw you, complimented you on your purple hair because it was something I wanted to do in previous years. And we just started talking and it went from there. And it was just, and here we are, like several weeks later.
Indeed. Yes, we're a tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we talked about this a little bit, in the first show that we had together, where you talked about really intentional aging, which, that's how this all started. You were saying about how you approached aging from the age of 40 in a very intentional way, making very intentional decisions about your life as you move forward. But this notion of working with people who have to downsize, organize, and especially let go. And you and I talked very much about that. Some of your identity is tied up in, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's shoes or furniture or photography or cooking, whatever it is. And that's a process. So tell us a little bit about how you approach that.
Yeah. So, I know that you love the idea of a third act. And so I think you will, and your listeners will enjoy the story. So I had gone through a divorce. I was about to launch my kids all off to college and become an empty nester. And I have a lot of energy, but I really, especially when you get to be around half a century old, your ability, I think I know I'm not alone. My ability to do things I don't want to do, my sense that like my years are scarce, my life is precious, my days are precious was so on me. So that was why I coached rowing, and I did some personal training, and I liked all of them, but none of them felt like they filled my whole soul. And I'd done, this work in my own life. I moved and relocated 6 times, twice while pregnant.
Oh, gee.
And yeah, no, let me tell you. So I have a lot of sympathy. I also have ADHD and executive functioning issues. And so I had to work really hard on this. So I would often jump in and help other people when they had a project or they were overwhelmed. And all of a sudden, I was actually out on the water rowing, putting in a couple, 10,000 meters or whatever it was. And I was processing like nothing has felt like it's the right thing. And I suddenly realized that organizing for other people really hits all the sweet spots, doing something I love in a way that I love it. I love coaching. I have always, everybody's always told me I should be a therapist. And I'm like, you have to sit too much.
Right.
A therapist. I can't sit. So it's weird. Like, I have lots of descriptions for this job. I describe myself as an overwhelm coach.
I love that.
Because really it all starts with overwhelm.
Absolutely. Yep.
And my concept of it is it starts with overwhelm and it should end with inspiration.
I love it. So yeah. I just want to jump in because I also have moved several times. I'm trying to think how many. I don't know if it's 8, but it's at least 5. And, that is a process. And, recently, I had a friend who had to move from her house where she lived for 30 years back to where she started out. She was moving from New Jersey to Michigan. And she has ADHD and whatever. And she just talked about overwhelm. And I don't have ADHD. I must have something, but I don't have. I'm sure my kids would say, really? You sure? But anyway. Yeah, something for sure. But, in that I did all of that with children and did it myself, especially the first time I was with my ex-husband, we moved to a house and then I left him and moved to an apartment. And then we moved to another place and another place. It does take an ability to organize and sift through things. And at different stages of life, that becomes more difficult than at others. So can you talk about
that? And absolutely. It's anytime there's something that causes a disruption in your life, in your living circumstances, or a change in the way you live your life is always a good time to take a step back and say, maybe I should go back. And I like the term right-sizing life.
I love that when I saw it the other day. Absolutely.
Because downsizing, I'm very careful with the language I use when I'm working with clients because, look, mostly people are calling me because they struggle with this. If they've got this stuff together, they're not paying me my rate to come to their house and be their companion, right?
Right.
And so the language you use, there's always some amount of shame and anxiety that underlies the whole process in every step. So instead of saying, do you want to throw it out? Do you want to donate it? The first question I ask is, we're going to curate, because the word curation doesn't imply that things are valuable or wanted or not. It's correct. Are they serving me and do they belong here now? Right.
Wow.
So that if I say I'm going to use the word curation and here's why I'm going to use it, they're going to go, yes, I know all of your things are valuable. They just may not be valuable to you right now. So that's what we're going to decide, right?
Wow.
And then instead of talking about, do we want to donate it or throw it out? We talk about releasing things. And okay, so we're going to go through this we're going to go through this stuff in your closet, and we're going to make 2 sections, stuff that we want to hold on to, and then stuff that we feel it's time to release. Right? So much lighter. The language makes a huge difference.
Right. But I'm thinking about this for myself. And I told you, I'll probably ask you to come help me with this sooner than later. And I have started, I said before the end of the last year, going through some things. Am I wearing these shoes anymore? Probably not. But then there were others, and we talked about this, that I feel it's part of my identity. Now, am I wearing those shoes anymore? Am I going to? Do I love to look at them and know that I have them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like stupid. I'm not stupid.
No, it's not. I have to stop you. You keep saying this. It's actually not. So when I'm going through things with clients, like, in order to do this job, you have to check your judgment at the door. And also, you have to be ready to have moments of, wow, okay, I did not see that coming. We're just going to keep moving. Have no reaction, because it happens in every project. And no one wants to feel judged. No one wants to feel like they shocked me, right? Trust me, everyone does. And it's okay, because if you went through my house, you'd go, what is this, Jill? And I'd be like, oh God, I know, right? We all have that, right? But when it comes to like your shoes and your identity, there is absolutely room for that. The question is, how much room?
Right. Right.
Yep, absolutely. So it is totally reasonable to make room for a collection of shoes that make you feel happy, that make you feel like the future, maybe there's a future where I wear those, whatever those are, that's totally fine. But sometimes maybe we just go through and say, you need space for all these other things. So maybe to do that, something's got to go. What do you think of cutting the shoes down from 20 to 15?
20. Wow, that would be great if there were.
I know, right? Yeah. So, and what's funny is once there's this exercise, it's like a muscle that you build as you go through this, where once you release the first set of shoes, then you can start releasing more, because you're like, I let go of something that I thought I couldn't let go of. And actually I experienced a feeling of release, right? And that felt good. I can do that again.
So
right?
It's interesting, because knowing we were going to have this conversation, the other day I opened my closet and I said, that pile of shoes over there in that corner, I bet there are some that I don't need anymore, that I will never wear. I'm going to go through them. And, this weekend I just may do that and say, I feel like inspired, even just having this conversation. Because I realize, they're taking up space and collecting dust. And, I just have a thing about shoes, because when I was younger, I was very extremely pigeon-toed, and I had to wear saddle shoes until whatever age, and everybody else was wearing pretty shoes. And so, I think, or I want to believe that's part of my fascination with having a lot of shoes. But it's what's the likelihood I'm wearing those again? So what's the point of them sitting there? What are they doing for me?
Because it's so funny. I can't believe I'm having this counter argument with you, because I usually have to have the other one. But there is room. What function, if you flip it, right? What function do old photographs serve?
Memories.
They're memories. What function are your shoes serving?
Yeah, absolutely memories.
There we go.
Memories.
So, but again, just like the photographs, there's room for some. There's not room for all of them. And photographs are one of the very difficult, one of the hardest Actually, I love my job so much because it's incredibly intimate. Right. When I am going, I'm literally going through your stuff, everything. Right. And I also am learning the story of your life through the collection of things that you've kept beside you. And I'm seeing letters, and I'm seeing all kinds of things. And one of the experiences we have, memories are the hardest, right? Things that we attach memories to. And I feel so honored. And this is where my job is like a therapist, where I sit with my clients and we grieve, and they tell me stories about life disappointments and their relationship with their family. And I feel so honored to do that. We have a comment here, I think.
Yeah, Ellis says, I get you. I've got you both. I've lived in 26 places. Wow, she's got us both. And I was never in the military. After accumulating and moving things all all these times I finally decide to give it all away. Things have memories and not always good. That is true too.
So true. And, you know, one of the things that I talk to about my clients, this brings up a good point, is there has to be a balance between acquiring and releasing. So I have clients who are over acquirers.
Oh,
like,
I would probably fit in that category.
Yeah, I had one client where I struggled to get her to get rid of some part of a collection that took up a lot of space, of things that there was no possibility she could have any use for, and we had no room to store. And it took me weeks to get her there. I came back the next week, and it was actually a hat collection. She had 100 hats.
Oh, wow.
And they were beautiful. Actually, this is kind of a good story for how to think about it. They were beautiful, but she had no place to store them so that she could see them, so she could wear them. And she came to me and she said, I need you to find a storage system for my 100 hats. And I was like, I did the research. I don't know how. I don't know how to do that without destroying them or putting them in the garage where you're not going to see them. So what if we paired them back? So I found a retail hat rack that held 35 hats. And so we decided the winter ones would go in the garage and the summer ones, and then she could swap them and she could have 35. And we got it down to 35 of each. Okay. I came a week later. She bought 7 new hats.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry to say I have something in common with the hat lady. I'm sorry to say, because I go through phases. So for instance, I have a side that's been giving me a trouble for over a year. And I don't really wear heels anymore, very rarely. So I went through this phase of getting some platforms, low platforms, more kind of like loafers, but they gave me some height. So of course I didn't get one, I got 5. I'm just saying. So now Jill Kaplan says, have you ever seen George Carlin's routine on people and their stuff? I he's brilliant. George Carlin, and I do think I remember seeing it, and it is quite extraordinary. He's brilliant, probably one of the most brilliant comedians there was. But I could just hear him now about a lot of stuff. We just accumulate stuff. So I appreciate Jill bringing that.
I'll have to look that up. I haven't seen it.
It's really
great.
He's really terrific. George Carlin was brilliant. I mean, he had so many different different stand-up routines, so many different routines. Each one is brilliant. The one about words, I mean, you'll look it up, you'll find it. But so when I think about it, I've gone through periods of time. So let me ask you this: what's the difference, or is there a difference between being an accumulator and being I don't want to say a compulsive buyer, but an excessive buyer in certain arenas? What is there a difference? And if there is, how would you talk about that?
So all of these things are very individual, right? The hat client, I think she herself describes herself as a shopaholic and actually doesn't feel great about it. Like, feels overwhelmed by how that compulsion affects her life. So, and I think it's almost like addiction, right? It's like, your alcohol use or many things. Like, is it adversely affecting your life and your relationships? Is it something you feel positive about that you are in control of, or is it in control of you? Like, do you feel like you are capable of managing this, or do you feel compelled to do it against your own better judgment? That's where I would say I would look at that. And, and I do have, I think there is room for people to collect things that they love and enjoy, right? But the question is, are you able to save it, catalog it, use it, enjoy it, whatever enjoying it means? And the vast majority of my clients do not. Here's how I would describe the basic impulse. And I'm just going to pick on TJ Maxx, because TJ Maxx and Home Goods are the scourge of my existence.
I can understand why.
Oh my God. Every client who has overstuffed closets and way too much, it's always TJ Maxx and Home Goods. And everyone who shops there can feel this, oh, I really like that.
Right.
That's great. I appreciate that. And you get this like serotonin ping in your
Yes,
head,
I actually was going to say that. I swear I was going to say this. Some rush that you get, even if it's even not to interrupt your analogy here, but even when I'm thinking back about buying all these shoes that I bought, these low platforms, and some were more loafer-like, some weren't, some I could wear with different outfits and dressy and casual, whatever. I could feel that kind of that rush. I can feel it. And as we're talking about it, I could feel it. And then I get to a point and say, okay, enough is enough, and return some of these. And I did, but I still have some of them. And have I worn them? I think I have worn all of them except one. But yeah,
but you go back to that. But could you have lived without them? Did they change your life? No. And also, would you have? I'm not judging you. We're just.
No, I know you're not.
We're going to pick on you.
Right.
You're going to be like, you set yourself up to be the guinea pig here. You brought up your stuff. So we're going to roll with that.
Okay.
So when you saw it, you get this ping, this rush. I really like it. And it's only $30 and I'm so excited. So I feel a sense of a win, right? Like I discovered something that somebody else hasn't. There's a ping.
Right.
So then in order to seal the deal on this win you had, you acquire it and you bring it home. And then lather, rinse, repeat. You might still like all of them, but they are creating clutter and overwhelm in your closet. And because there's so much, you can't even see what you have, so you can't wear them. So that's what I'm talking about. I took 15 contractor bags out of one man's closet.
Oh, wow.
Of shirts, mostly dress shirts, button-down dress shirts. And at least a third of them had the tags on them and he'd never seen them before.
Okay,
and
that's not me though, thank goodness.
No, but like that's what happens when it goes into the extreme. And in that case, what was interesting there, he never bought his own clothes. Gifts were his wife's love language. So she would buy him these shirts as a way of saying, I love you and I thought of you today during the day. And it accumulated to 15 contractor bags.
So I'll just say this. So talk about, but let's.
We got a good question here.
Yes, Ken. How do you know when you have enough stuff and you're not accumulating needlessly and meaninglessly? Great question, Ken.
I love
it.
You know question. What? This question really, really, really gets to the heart of, the whole thought process.
Right.
And stuff, we're not just talking shopping. We started talking about shopping, but I don't want to limit it to that. You can accumulate stuff by accepting too many gifts. Here's some other areas where we accumulate too. People come over and they bring you gifts you don't want, but you feel bad about throwing them away.
Right.
You have too many memories of your children's belongings. Your kids are 40 years old and you still have their Legos and they've told you they don't want them. Right. By the way, everything I'm telling you has happened, right? And you have, 16 banker's boxes of old photographs and you don't even know who the people are in them. All of these things. So the question is, how do you know when you have enough stuff? Big question. Can I manage what I have? Can I find what I need? And can I keep my house clean enough with all of this in it?
So I could tell you, so I tell people when we talk about shoes or whatever it is, I say, now, I don't mean like this is, when I say it's a sickness, there's probably another name for it because I am a very, very visual person. I could tell you what shoes are in 95% of the shoes I have and in what box they are. So if I want to go find them, I know where to go. I mean, it's kind of a little creepy, actually.
No, it's not at all. You know why? Because that's the things that matter to you. It makes perfect sense. So like I told you, I have ADD. I was like, I had to learn this. That's why I can teach this, because it doesn't come naturally. Like, I had to learn it.
Right.
The one area of my life that has always been organized, the one part of my house, even when the rest was a train wreck, was my kitchen. Why? Because I love to cook and I need to cook, so I need to know where my stuff is.
Right.
So when the whole rest looked like something blew up, the kitchen, I knew where everything was, because that's what mattered to me. And when I go into a house with a new client for the first time, we walk around and we tour, and I'm like opening drawers and I'm like, huh, okay. So talk to me about this, because this stuff seems like, oh yeah, and it's always, that's really, really important to me. And usually the person will have said, I have no ability to organize anything. I'm a mess. I don't know how to do this. I'm like, look, you do.
Right.
Sure, right? You do. And then we start getting at the deeper issue, right?
So Wendy says, I've accumulated so much through inheritance. And since it was family members and it has memories, and out of respect, I didn't want to get rid of it. What should I do? Great question.
Oh,
Great question.
Okay, Wendy. Belongings and objects are not people. They're not human. They don't have feelings. And we cannot accumulate those things endlessly, because are you going to pass all of that along to when does it stop, right? So I understand it, and it happens with all of my clients, because so many of them are either going through a divorce or going through, downsizing and retirement or something like that. This is where, if you feel a real attachment, that getting rid of those belongings is like getting rid of or dishonoring your family members, that's a place to sit and spend some time reflecting on them and grieving them and feeling them. Usually it's someone who's deceased and it came through an estate. Right. You've held them, you've enjoyed them, and it's time to release it if you don't adore it and desperately want it.
So she says, that's the problem. I have no kids and no one to directly pass it on to.
Okay.
So wait, but before we get to that, I had a suggestion, but then it doesn't really apply because she says she has no kids. But yes and no, because I think there's still a way. If these things have not only personal memories, but they're historic, not only for a family, but it could be in a larger context. Maybe, go through them and write a story about each one of these things and kind of catalog it and create some kind of book, and then maybe donate it to a historical society or a local chapter.
No one wants it, girl.
No
one wants it.
Oh, shoot,
I
thought it was such a great idea.
No. See, this is another thing. One of the like really hard things I have to do when I go in with people who are downsizing, everyone, it's always true. I mean, there is like a sliver of a time when I'm wrong about this, and I'm looking for the moments when I'm wrong. No one values your stuff the way you do, and it's not really worth anything. But I have an idea for Wendy. So I just had a client who downsized their house after 30 years, and their sons had limited space for any of their belongings, and they offered stuff to other family members, and they still had a lot left because they had a very sizable home. And they decided to do an online estate sale. So basically someone came over, took photographs of everything, and then the auction happened online, and then there was a pickup day. And she and her husband wanted to be there for pickup day, and really interacted with people. Now, I'll tell you, estate sale people are hilarious. It's so fun. It's such a cast of characters. I love it. But at the end of the project, this project was the 2.5 month long project with 2 estate sales, where she had 2 levels of deciding what she wanted to get rid of. We were doing a debrief, and I said, so you didn't make much money at all, like for all the work and everything of setting things aside and making sure they were clean. I mean, I think she made $1,300. And I said, do you regret the time and energy that went into choosing that route for those things? And she said, absolutely not. I said, okay, tell me why. And she said, it gave me some joy to meet the people and see the faces of people who were picking it up. And a lot of them were actually really happy to know the story behind it. And
Cool.
so, yeah. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. And that was enough for me. It helped me. Yeah.
That's super.
So,
That's super. So that's a great idea for Wendy, if that's something, a road she wants to go down. It's certainly, an innovative idea. And
yeah. Because here's the thing, you have to, like, going back to, I sort of wanted to follow Mel's talk about retirement, saving for retirement. We do financial planning and we do estate planning. We don't plan as well. Very few people plan as well for their belongings, what happens to their belongings when they pass. And the reality is, the ugly reality is that what you don't pass on, other people will put in a dumpster to get it out of the house because no one has time to go through it.
True. That very, very, very
it's sad.
True.
Yeah.
So Salim, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Salim Rashad. I have four wives. I have four wives. Wait, I had to read that a few times. I have four wives. Talk about accumulating. I pray to Allah for an answer, but so far, I don't mean to laugh. It's funny and it's not. No, seriously, because now you have,
don't collect what you can't assume responsibility for, and keep your life in order. Yeah. I mean, it is. One of the other things I love about whatever's happening to you with your therapist is also happening in your house. I can walk into a house and we're doing the same things in our physical lives that we're doing in our emotional lives. My best friend and I had this issue with my basement that it had been in the house before I got divorced. It had just been the place where overwhelm came and multiplied. And I called her and I was like, oh my God, the basement has to get cleaned out. Like, it has to be emptied and like on the fly. And I said, this basement is a good metaphor. It's like all the things in life that you really can't get rid of, but you don't want to deal with, you put in the basement. Right. We do it emotionally and we do it physically, right?
I was just saying the same thing. Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So now it's shorthand when we're talking about something that's really overwhelming or sad or whatever. I was like, I'm putting that in the emotional basement this week.
Right. That makes sense. That makes total sense. But, I like what you said about we don't plan for our stuff. And that is why we talked about you having a conversation on the show following Mel talking about financial planning and all of that, because people don't plan for these things. And I know I mentioned on a previous show, I mentioned to my daughter a few times, please come and let's look through these things. What you want, what you don't. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at some things now saying, I don't know. I'd want to keep that thing, but okay, whatever. So Salim said again, I'm serious and I don't want to offend any one of them. So I have to keep all of the things everywhere. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, what's interesting, I stumbled on, one of the works that became part of the cultural zeitgeist was Margarita Magnusson's The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning.
Right.
Which, yeah, I have to say, like, the branding on that, it's like, I was like, God, death cleaning? That's rough.
Yeah.
But what's funny is I happened to stumble across, the last time I was here, right, we were talking about sort of intentional vitality, essentially.
Right.
You know what? She wrote a second book.
Yes.
I didn't know this. Do you know what it's called?
The Swedish Art of Aging Exuberantly, and I love it.
I didn't know. I had no idea this week. And I was like, oh my God. And literally, and so I was thinking about that connection, was like, that's kind of crazy. Here's the woman who's talking about the death cleaning, who's also talking about aging exuberantly, living intentionally, right? And what's interesting is we also talked last time about how, like, the concepts of death and aging and being old. It's interesting. She is not a person who shies away from those ideas.
Right.
At all. she clearly in the book, she like looks at things head on and this is what's happening, and uses that as a way of actually breathing life into her, breathing energy and vitality into the life she lives, right? And I just thought, oh, that is it's such an interesting connection, right?
So I thought of it this way. So, the art of death cleaning, right? And I'm thinking of it in a different way. I don't know the way she meant it, but it's like cleaning out, not necessarily death as in dying, but cleaning out, that's like the letting go of the whatever it is, and so that you could live exuberantly. I was looking at it that way.
So the book actually is that, plus do not burden your heirs with boatloads of crap. No one has time. And to be clear, your stuff is not crap to you. It's usually crap to other people. Like, because you like, just the same way you don't want to wear anyone else's perfume, you don't want to wear anyone else's shoes. Most of 90% of what you have is not something anyone else wants. But I'll launch from that. So not everything is, right. Some of it's good stuff. And in the book, in Magnuson's book, she talks about the opportunity of going through your things, anticipating that you will not be able to have these things forever, can't take it with you, and using that as a launch pad to connect with your heirs, your family, to tell stories, to ask people what they'd like, and pass them on now when you're not under pressure. Here's why things go in a dumpster, because I do this work for a living. Piecing through all of this stuff, it is hours upon hours upon hours. And I mean, incredibly, I spent 18 hours in a master bathroom once.
Oh, gee.
And it was a master bathroom that had a lot of stuff. No one has time for that, right? The people who have to, so it's all just going in garbage bags, because no one has time.
Oh, yeah,
and they have their own stuff. So what a privilege if you start this at age 60, 65, 70, little bit at a time. The kids come home, you have one box of photographs, one box of yearbooks, one box, and you give them the opportunity to have that, and you're passing it along. But you know what usually happens? You review it with them, you have a great time together, and then they say, I don't need to take it home. I don't need it. And you know what? A lot of people experience that as deeply painful.
Correct. So I'm going to say I had this experience, but I'll just interject this. I had this experience. My son lives in California. And when I moved to where I am now, I think he was already in California, I think he was already in California. But a lot of his stuff was here. And this was, I think, when he first went out there. And I kind of thought he'd stay out there, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I had so much stuff of his in the attic. And last year, and a couple of times when he came to visit, I said, let's go through this stuff. And he'd say, no, I don't want to spend my time doing that. But last year, or towards the end of last year, I said, we got on a Zoom and we started going through these boxes. And I wound up giving away a lot of stuff. There were some things he said, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. Let's keep that one. But yeah, we got rid of a lot of stuff. And some of it I was surprised about. But listen, that was his decision, his stuff, his choice, right? But it almost meant more to me than it did to him, some of it.
Oh, it absolutely does. And I had one client who had 2 adult kids. She really, their bedrooms were still in the same state that they were in, with the same things in their drawers as they were when they left for college.
Right.
So she had them go through what they wanted to keep, and she looked at what they left. And I knew it. This was early in the project before she built the muscle. I knew what was coming. And she picked up a picture with the frame tassel from his high school graduation and a picture of him. And I just saw, she's like, he didn't want this.
Right.
And I said, no, he didn't. He made his own choices. And she's like, I'll keep it. And I looked at her and I said, okay, wait, you can keep it, but I want to talk through this.
Right.
We need to just talk about this moment. This is painful.
Right.
And she said, yes, because you feel rejected. Is that right? Does that feel right? And she's like, Yeah, there's a part of it that feels like a rejection, like he's rejecting his I said he's
Right.
not. He's
Right.
rejecting and this is what I mean by associating people with belongings. He's rejecting a photo. That's it.
Right.
It's
But
not
as a
rejecting
parent, so now
yeah.
you're a parent, right? As a
Oh,
parent, you have an emotional attachment to these things because it's part of the, your child's life,
yeah.
right? And
So
so you
well,
have an
yeah.
emotional attachment to it. And then when they don't, you go, really? Seriously? And there were a few things. My kids, they make fun of me sometimes. I say, but you sure you don't want this? Remember when?
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? My mom is actually, so my dad is actually a hoarder. But because she is actually not at all, it's able to be kept in check, but it creates a ton of conflict,
Oh,
right,
sure.
around that subject. So my mom, though, is amazing at being very disciplined. So my mom is one of those compulsive shoppers, but when she brings something home, something goes.
Oh,
She cleans out her
wow.
closet several times a year. Like, she's pretty amazing. And she wears it. She wears it until she like is no longer thrilled by it, and then it's gone. So, I'll come 6 months later. I'll be like, where's that cute black sweater that you had? She goes, oh, I got rid of that. I got a new one. I like it better. I'm like, okay. So, but my mom had found some school papers of mine, and she said, I found your report cards from elementary school and some other stuff. Do you want them? I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah, send them to me. So she sent them to me. Oh my God, it was outstanding. I couldn't believe she didn't throw them out because she throws everything out, but she did. And it was hilarious because I got a picture of my true self, right? At these
Right.
elementary and middle school ages. And all of it was, if only she could calm down and focus,
Right.
she's a bright kid. Like, gosh, she's a troublemaker and she can't sit.
That's
But it was
funny.
interesting because, like, it was a really great self reflective moment where I was like, oh, interesting. It has always been like that. So, but then I had them and I thought, I don't need to hold on to these. So, what I do is I actually scan them on my phone and I have a file folder that I keep all those scans in. And, all the memorabilia. One of my kids came home. I said, you have to see this hilarious letter that my teacher sent about what a bad kid I am. It's so funny. And I had it, but it was a scan. So we
Right.
have these digital tools now.
Right. So somebody just said hello to me. So I want to return the favor and say hello. But yeah, it's really, as we're talking, I mean, I'm sitting in my dining room and there's like an etagere here and I'm looking at this stuff going, yeah, but I like that thing.
Yeah. And if you don't feel like you have too much stuff and it doesn't feel overwhelming
But
yet, and
I do, but I do,
okay.
and some of it is ridiculous. And I even said to my daughter, I have so many serving pieces. I have a thing about getting all these things, and I don't really entertain like that anymore. I said, why don't you come look through these things, and if you like some of them, take them because they're lovely, and you have a lifetime. She's 40. She just turned 45. So you have many more years of doing this. Maybe you want some of these things, but she hasn't gotten around to coming here.
Yeah.
But every time I open this one drawer, I say, I know there are things in here, serving pieces and gourmet things that I know she'd appreciate.
But it also, Phyllis, it ties into that art of letting go. So it's that idea that like you were holding something in your fist really tight. You can't reach for something else until you release that or pass it along to the other hand, right?
Right.
So there is a pleasure in having new things and freshening up your space, right? Or even you have the etagere and you really love it, so you get rid of some other stuff and then you see the etagere in a different light, right?
Right.
That's decorating, right? But it is a nice thing to acquire. Even if you have someone who passes and has an estate and they have things you really love, take them. Just get rid of, be cognizant. Like, okay, I can take these, but I need to release something else. And you know what? Someone will enjoy it. And you know what? Someone from Goodwill, someone, you pass it along. You don't know who lands on it and really gets pleasure out of it.
So it's
We love
interesting.
shopping at Goodwill.
Right. So, it's interesting you said that, because I have a bowl in my kitchen that I put fruit in. And it was an aunt of mine, many, 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 many years ago. And when she passed away, her daughters, I went to her house, and her daughters, and I said, I was with her when she bought that. And that other little bowl, it has pictures of vegetables on it. So I still have it. Now, if I told it to my daughter, it would have no meaning to her, I'm sure, and doesn't fit in with her decor, her style, or whatever it is. And it would probably be that kind of thing. She would remember my aunt and say, okay, but what do I need Aunt Ruthie's bowl for?
Right.
Like, and I would be like, you don't want Aunt Ruthie's bowl? I mean,
I'm so hurt. Oh my God. I mean, you are not alone. I would imagine that everyone listening to this is like, oh, I know. Right. It feels, I mean, we go through things that I'm like, okay, there's all these picture frames or these tchotchkes sitting in this box, and let's go through, and they're sitting in a box. So obviously you don't love them, or you don't have room for them, but let's go through that. And you go through it, and it's like, oh, well, my secretary at my last job gave that to me.
Right.
Is she coming over to your house to inspect it?
So it's so funny. I have to say tell this little story. So there's a woman that I know. I've known her for several years, and I had bought something, and I brought it to my daughter's house, and she hadn't put it up. And I said to her, listen, if you don't like it, tell me, and I'll take it, because I have somebody I could give it to. So the woman was telling me that her daughter's or her son's daughter's mother gave her something that she really didn't like. And it was sitting on her kitchen counter for 25 years. And the woman hasn't come to her house. So she finally decided it was time to get rid of it, because if she hasn't come in 25 years and seen it there, in all likelihood, she wasn't going to come, and she probably wouldn't miss it, because she probably wouldn't remember that she gave it to her 25 years ago.
Isn't this crazy that we do this?
It's crazy.
One of my rules when people come to see me, and I kind of have something similar with, like, if I can't kill it or eat it, don't bring it.
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean, and look, that's me. Gifts are not my love language. So, but also I see so many people struggle with getting rid of gifts that didn't hit, but they feel ungrateful. It calls it's shame, right? Shame and anxiety underlie all of this. It's all shame and anxiety.
and I would say shame, anxiety, and guilt, right? What isn't that, or shame and guilt? Are they sides of the same coin?
So guilt is like the action that you're taking where you're being unkind, or you've actively done something unkind, right? So I guess if you frame getting rid of something that you're being unkind, but you're not, right? They don't even know. It's the shame of feeling like you should have been more grateful, or you wish you had enjoyed it more, that in the spirit that the person gave it. And literally, here's the thing. I often laugh and go, girl, this was not a well thought out gift. This was something she picked up at Hallmark, so she had something to give you. And we get comfortable. And so, and she's like, I know. Oh, you're right. I was like, she didn't spend days shopping for this.
Right. And that's
what are you talking about?
You that she gave it to you than it did for her to go buy it and give it to you in many cases, not all, but in many cases.
Yeah. So, and one of the things I often say is when you keep a bunch of things that have no value to you in your home, you're using your house as a dumpster.
I have to think about that.
Yeah, because they really should go. You have no value for them. You don't even know where they are. They're sitting in those plastic totes. Don't get me started on how much I hate plastic totes. But they're sitting in the damn plastic tote that has the mismatched lid because you bought them from 5 different places, and now you can't figure out which lids go on which totes. That's why I hate plastic totes.
Right.
And also at the end of every major move, I dump tons of plastic into landfill, and I hate it.
That's so interesting you say that, because I have a thing with plastic containers, and I do purge them every once in a while and bring them to the local recycling place in Greenwich. But then I wind up accumulating them again.
Uh-huh.
And because either I took out something from a restaurant or my daughter gave me some leftovers or however it happens. And now they're piled up again. And it's like I have this guilt about getting rid of them.
Getting rid of them because you feel, so yes, you're nailing it.
Right.
You hold on to things that you don't value, don't serve you, and have no monetary value because you feel shame, right?
Wow.
It's shame. Yeah. So one of the skills we learn is like, all right, are you struggling with this? Where's the shame and where's the anxiety?
Right. It's really very interesting.
Yeah.
There are a lot of emotions, obviously, that, like you say, you're dealing with people and their emotions. It's not a simple thing as, okay, let's make a pile of things that you're going to give away. And that's it. It's not that. It's like I have 2 plates. I'm looking at one of them right now. It was signed by the Duchess of York. I had bought it. It's a Wedgwood plate. It was after 9/11, actually. There was an event at Bloomingdale's, I think it was, in New York. And I have 2 plates. Now, I don't think they probably would have any meaning or value to my daughter, but they do for me. So I'm thinking about it as we're talking about this, like, well, they wouldn't have any value. She'd be like, okay, why do I need those? I don't even like them. And I'd be mortified.
Yeah.
I'd be mortified. So Dom says guilt is an inner sense of doing wrong, but no one may know. Shame is the gaze of others. It is public and much more profound.
There's a lot of different definitions for the distinction between guilt and shame. I kind of side on the Brene Brown. My definitions of guilt and shame are, derived from Brene Brown, but
right.
Yeah.
Interesting, though.
Shame is the sense that there is something bad or wrong about me. Guilt is I didn't, this is, an oversimplification of the Brene Brown definitions. Guilt is the sense that I did or didn't do something that is against my sense of values.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting way of putting it. I like Brene Brown. And I don't remember that. I have other things of hers and have followed her. She's really quite extraordinary woman. But yeah, all of this is so fascinating. And so Jill, let me ask you this question. This is an in-person experience and you lived in Greenwich, Connecticut. So obviously, it would have to be somebody that was nearby you or, within a reasonable travel distance for you who would engage your services. But what about if it was somebody listening to this who really feels they need you and they live a distance away?
Yeah. So there's, so I have many colleagues and there is the National Association of Professional Organizers, which is a good resource. So there's more to my story. Hold on. My computer, I just kicked the charger out. Oh, okay. I'm going to deal with that right now. Hold on. It's about to die.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's all about technology. We're all aware of technological things happen.
Okay, here we go. There we go. I'm charging. Okay. So the National Association of Professional Organizers is a resource. So one of the things that kickstarted my my journey in getting more organized and being more intentional about my belongings was I moved into a house while pregnant with my 4th child, and the builder was trying to sweeten the pot. So he said, I'm going to throw in 100 hours with a professional organizer. Neither of us knew what that was. Neither of us cared. But whatever, we were going to buy this house anyway. We're like, whatever, who cares? So we move in. I get this phone call. Hey, we're your professional organizers. When are we coming? And I was like, what do you do? And she said, we'll put all your stuff away. I'm pregnant. I have a kindergartner, a preschooler, and a toddler. And I'm like, have at it.
Right. Dude, absolutely.
A day and a half, the entire house was put away. It was crazy. And then while we were doing it, she'd have me go through things and I'd say, oh, I know I have too much of this and I don't know what to do. And she'd ask me some really smart, thoughtful, succinct questions. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's all. Okay, yeah, that's all I need. And yeah, you can get rid of that. And so that was my journey. So the National Association of Professional Organizers is a great resource. Most professional organizers have websites. You can find someone through there. There's all kinds of different people who, I think one thing I would advise when you find someone is find someone who you connect with and click with. I would say if you wouldn't want them as your therapist, you wouldn't want them as your professional organizer. And, you know, there are some people who are just super efficient and super quick and specialize in getting a move done. And they're not going to be the sit there and cry with you type.
Correct. I was thinking that when you were saying it, right.
Yeah. I'm like the sit there, like the bags will get filled up. Let's just spend 15 minutes grieving. Like we can create space for that. You know, everyone's different. My point is, you know, make sure that the chemistry, go on a date with them, have a consult. Most of them will do a consult with you. And that's a, you know, you can do it. And I'll say something too for my profession. If you have a real problem with organization, being disorganized is very expensive. So hiring a professional organizer is not cheap, but living disorganized is expensive too.
Right, absolutely.
So one of my daughters has like channels my energy and like cleans up after me. And she just visited a friend of hers who the entire family has this problem. And she said it was crazy as we went through things. She was like, they kept on going, oh, that's where that is. Oh, that's where that is. And then you would find like 12 of them because they never knew what they were. So that's expensive too. I went through a kitchen. I redid a kitchen once. I found 12 bags of sugar. 12 bags of sugar. Each of them had 1 cup taken out of them, because no one could find the sugar. So if we wanted to bake, we had to go buy more sugar instead of rooting through all the cupboards and disrupting all the chaos that we'd have to put away. And that's too overwhelming. So now we accumulate more and more and more because we can't find what we need. And we can't even bear to open up the cupboards. Like that's expensive too.
Right.
So this is the thing. When I tell people what I charge, they often go, oh my God. I'm like, don't kid yourself that living like this is inexpensive.
Right. And I would say something when you said, see if you click with the person, I would think, you know, find out their point of view, what their philosophy is about this, and see if you feel comfortable with it.
It's someone who makes you feel like they're being very bossy or they're dictating to you what you should do. Someone who you feel like doesn't treat your belongings respectfully.
Right.
One of the things I am neurotically careful about, especially in the first 20, 25 hours of a job, is until I really know the client, is I do not throw out a pencil without permission.
Right.
Because if I throw out a special pencil and the client finds me throwing out a pencil, they're never going to trust me to go through their stuff unless they're looking over my shoulder. So like they're like literally, if you have a lot of anxiety around this stuff, you're afraid that I don't value your stuff and I'm going to throw your stuff out without telling you. So instead I sort. Right. And I say, these are the categories I think these go into. How do you feel about that? And they'll go through the garbage. And you know what? And sometimes they'll be like, oh, this is the part of this thing I've been looking. This is the electric charger that goes to my electric warming mittens. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great.
So it's interesting you say that, because a couple of years ago, I had someone staying with me for about 6 weeks, and she was a little OCD, over-organized. She was actually living here for 6 weeks, and she decided she was going to go through my refrigerator. And sure enough, she threw out things that I can't get another thing of. I was like, why did you do that? I wasn't expecting you to do that. So, and that's something simple, like just some things, certain salad dressings that I can't get anymore. And there was nothing wrong with them. But so it's interesting that you said that. But, you know, Jill, thanks so much. You know, your energy, the valuable work you do, helping people. I like to call it downsize, organizing, and letting go. But
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Your insights are always refreshing. And I personally not only learn so much, but you know, I will be calling upon you to help me as I move forward to prepare for moving. So then
we'll have our coffee and take a look at your place.
Okay, thanks so much.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers did as well.
Super, thanks.
So please join me on July 23rd to hear my conversation with my next guest, Loida Lewis, an incredible woman, visionary, and entrepreneur in her 80s, who was the first Filipino woman to pass the New York State Bar and continues to be a champion for empowering women. Her inspiring story is one of resilience, vision, legacy, and remaining vital at every age. So remember to tune in, comment, and ask questions on July 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Source TV Radio Network. And until then, take care, stay well, and stay tuned.
Go for it, go for it. I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it. Discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it. Uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know. There'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.